If you're questioning yourself, you're doing a good job. I think sometimes it's literally someone just saying, you can do this.
You said to me, Ashleen, you should be so happy that because of you, somebody has a seat at the table.
I was like, I am going to position myself, figure it out, be my own PR rep, and be 40 under 40.
It's really ballsy.
I know, I don't know. It's all that wine I was drinking, that liquid courage or something. Don't wait to be recognized. Be your own advocate.
Welcome back to Between Us with Ashleen Chan. Today's guest is someone who is incredibly special to me, not only because of her remarkable achievements, but because of the strength, compassion, and wit that she brings into any room that she enters. She is an established marketer here in Napa Valley, a region people from the world over flock to. She has also been recognized by the North Bay Business Journal as one of their 40 under 40. From navigating the wine world to defining success in her own terms, she has done it all with grace and determination and is here today to share her journey both professionally and personally. She is someone I lean into for advice. She is someone I admire and am honored to call a friend. And I'm so grateful that she has decided to join me here for a great conversation. And I'm hoping that you all can learn something from the sassy gems of wisdom she's going to have for all of us. Lisa, thank you so much for being here. Welcome to Between Us.
Thank you so much for having me. I've been really looking forward to this a lot.
Yeah, I think it would be helpful to tell the audience how we met, which was, I think, if memory serves me correctly, about 8 years ago.
Yeah, 2016.
My gosh. Time surely does pass by fast.
We were young.
So I remember when we started our MBA program at St. Mary's College in California. Mm-hmm. Our first class was a comms class. And after it was over, you approached me because we both at that time had a little bit of stage fright, if you may, or qualms about getting up in front of people and presenting. Yeah. And when you approached me, I was like, oh my gosh, who is this stunning, gorgeous woman who has come forward to speak to me? And then the second thought that ran through my head was like, I looked at your outfit and I was like, she's got the same vest that I have purchased, and she's wearing it on the first day. So now I have to wait a quarter before I can wear the same outfit. That is like something that I remember so fondly because our tastes are so similar, even like some of the things that we discussed today. But that started off this beautiful friendship, and that has brought us where we are here today.
Yeah, we had so much fun. And it was great too, because, we're all learning together and doing something that's such a challenge and it's hard, really taxing mentally, physically exhausting, emotionally, because we're navigating other jobs and our family and commitments. So I kind of felt like I did like a tour of service with you. Some sort of, what branch of the military were you in? Like St. Mary's MBA program. I served under or with Ashleen, 6th Infantry, whatever.
That's a great way of looking at it. I'd never viewed it from
arms. Yeah.
Yes. Lisa, as I mentioned, you hail from the beautiful Napa Valley region.
Yes.
Is it a very competitive space?
Yeah, absolutely. Because you're not just competing with people like locally or California, but there's a lot of international people that are coming. They're doing their staging, their stints. They want to put that on their resume, even if they go back, even if it's just to Washington or go back to Australia or South America, like doing a tour of duty. So again, in Napa, and having that on your resume is a big career builder. And so a lot of times in all the different capacities they have from winemaking, you see a lot of it in winemaking, but even it's competitive for internships, for, marketing. It's competitive as a marketer, as a salesperson. You have a lot of people from the CPG or consumer packaged goods space, and there are people from Kellogg or Johnson & Johnson for some of the bigger wineries.
Even Cliff Bars, right?
Yeah, or luxury marketers that they want to come and market this other consumable luxury ag-based, product. And so you're not just dealing with wine marketers in your area. You're getting people from New York coming out to want to be in this space. Because, is it more fun to market shampoo or fine wine?
This is true. Has this hospitality industry been your career most of your life, or have you ventured into other areas as well?
Mostly all my life since I was 21. So over 20 something years. I did a tiny stint. I had an insurance license when I was 20.
Really?
I don't know if you knew that.
I didn't know
I worked
that.
as a receptionist, and I was going to school and worked and had a job and worked as a receptionist in an insurance company, and then got licensed and sold personal like home and auto insurance.
You? Insurance?
Yes. It was fine but boring. And then I worked in a law office briefly.
That I could see.
But yes, no, since I was 21, it's been the wine industry. You know, you find something and you're like, okay, well, this is perfect. I'm holding on to this, white knuckles. I love it.
How did you fall into that?
Well, actually, it was at the law office, and the private investigator that worked for the law office said, you know, I think you would be really good in wine. And he said that because his wife was the executive assistant to the president and CEO of Francis Coppola's winery, which was called Napa Coppola at the time. Now it's Inglenook up in Rutherford. And they were looking for another executive assistant. And at the time I was just admin front desk. And he goes, it's such a nicer place because the law office is a little stressful.
Yes.
It was family law. So like people are crying in the, in the waiting rooms. I'm like, okay, all right. So I went in there and I interviewed with the president of the company, and he ended up actually kind of pushing me into marketing because he's like, I don't know that you're a good fit for my assistant. I'm like, oh,
well, at least he was honest.
Yeah. He's like, but we're looking for a marketing assistant for our marketing role. And he liked me for the company. And he had me go and talk to the marketing director at the time. And that's how I started. And I just think it's interesting because there's these two great men that I knew, one at the job I was working in, and then the other one at the job I was applying for, that saw something like, you should go talk to this person. I was like, okay, well, you're not the right fit for me, but you should go here. That they saw something and kind of placed me someplace. And I didn't have to stay in that place, but I was like, you know what? Those guys are right. This was great. And I just stumbled into it like that.
Did you have an interest in wine before that?
I love drinking wine. It was my favorite thing to do. Yeah.
Okay, so this was at 21.
21, yeah. So okay. I was not drinking really good wine, but I was drinking it. I was in Napa, so I mean, I understood it. I grew up, it was in my backyard, or part of my growing up, and so I was very much around it, very much aware, and it was just so. It was more than anything. It was a little intimidating as a 21-year-old getting into fine wine because you don't really know anything.
And there's so many layers in this industry, just even with the wine itself.
Yeah.
How has the journey been?
Fun, bumpy, a lot to learn. And the nice thing is the more you learn, the more you realize you don't need to know it all. And, you don't need to be intimidated by not knowing it all. It's so much. There's so much. But you get just to lean into the more rewarding parts, and that don't have to be about being an encyclopedic knowledge.
Every time I speak to you when we've sat with our friends, you are like a wine encyclopedia for us.
Well, yes, I guess it's all relative. If I'm in a room in the wine industry, I'm maybe in the middle, If it's someone not in the wine industry, then yes, then I look like a genius. And I love that for me, but it's not really the case.
I love that for us too, because when our groups have gotten together, I'm like, she knows what she's talking about. Yeah. And we get to see people kind of fawn over you. Yeah. And it's also a matter, like, you feel proud to be at a table where somebody knows what they're talking about.
Yeah.
And it's a nice feeling for all of us.
Yeah.
But what has been your shining moments?
I mean, a lot of the great moments I've had, and it's not moments, it's just collectives, is working with people. I mean, that's what I love so much about the wine industry and hospitality in general, is I do really enjoy people. And I've loved building teams and kind of careers in that, just like I've been built up as well. Very early on, I was the head of marketing and PR at a winery in Oakville, Napa, California, called Minor Family Winery. One of my favorite things was they were instrumental in the inception in 2013 of Bottle Rock, which is the big concert series that is in Napa. And for me to be able to be on that initial team at Minor, to pick it up and figure out how are we as a winery and as a wine industry going to create and engage fine wine with the Coachella vibe or Lollapalooza vibe, and just to be collectively with all the wineries and the Bottle Rock team as well as just like then how does minor family winery
And be
represent
successful at it.
and be successful, and what does success look like,
Mhm.
and can we really merge the elegance and the elitism sometimes of fine wine from Napa Valley with the cool chill
Music vibes, yeah.
yeah.
Mhm.
So that was such a shiny moment, I think, for the industry and Napa at a whole, but I definitely was super happy that I got to go along for the ride during that duration.
But that's a tall order. Weren't you so scared when it was proposed to you and you were tasked with it?
Yes, well, not scared. I'm always just anxious because I want to do the best job.
Mm-hmm.
And I just want to get the most squeeze, the most juice out of the squeeze. You know
Yep.
what I mean?
Mhm.
So that is, but it's always a team effort. So if you're looking at it one way, you have somebody, and that's, why you want to build a team, on the other side, seeing it from a different angle. I think we all really weren't sure, but to me, it was just a lot of money to spend and a lot
Yes.
of, a lot of a budget to spend and a big risk. And I think the royal we, all of us didn't know, even the Bottle Rock people didn't know exactly what it was going to look like.
Yeah.
But, wine is so social. I mean, it was going to work. We just didn't know exactly how it was going to work. But it's been going.
It's been
strong.
very successful.
It's very successful.
Yes.
So, they were onto something. But yeah, it was a big new thing to do. But that's the fun, the challenges. And then you have to build a team inside of a team. So you have all of your, like at the winery, you have all of the people that are working, on your teams or other people's teams. So now we're doing this huge offsite. So it's like, who are we pulling the best, from production, the best from hospitality, best logistics person, the best
Yep.
creative minds and budgets, and creating this like little mini squadron to go offsite and produce this huge,
It's a huge undertaking. Yep.
Yeah.
And I remember you were doing it when you had one of your really big artists come into town. It was like when Adam Levine was at his peak, and I can't remember some of the other artists that had come into for Bottle Rock while you were doing your MBA program with us.
Yes, Dave Grohl.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I want to pause for a moment and really give you credit too, is you took us, your peers from this program who were interested in going to Bottle Rock, you laid out the red carpet for us.
Yeah.
A lot of people wouldn't do that.
Oh.
And I want to...
They're stingy.
Yeah, but at that time, I think we weren't even 6 months in.
Right.
And it takes a lot for somebody to roll out the red carpet for your peers. And you just did that without hesitating. Thanks to you, I got to have that beautiful experience up front and center that a lot of people, don't have the privilege of. And I was able to write on the privilege of being associated with you and your association with the winery. And I want to just take a moment and say thank you for giving us that experience that we wouldn't have gotten to otherwise.
Right.
And we would have also, if we wanted to, we would have had to dig really deep into our pockets to be that up front and center.
Right.
And we were spoiled by you. And I have been spoiled by you in the 8 years that I've known you. And not only is this Bottle Rock an example, but I'm just spoiled affectionately by you and by your attention.
Making me blush. You're great for my ego, though. I love this. Continue.
No, but honestly, Lisa, I think the one thing that I think nobody can take away from me is the people that I surround myself with and the love that they bring.
Energy.
The energy that they bring forth.
So important.
You are one of those people.
Made the cut.
Made the cut. And you're stuck with me for life.
Ditto. Back at you.
What were your most challenging moments that come to mind?
Unfortunately, during COVID, one of the hardest things was, we were such a hospitality driven industry. That's why, even you mentioned like rolling out the red carpet. I'm like, that's inherent in what I do. It's intrinsic in what my job is. That's a part of marketing. It's not just the actual product, but your marketing experience, and a legacy too. That's all a part of it. And unfortunately during COVID, for a lot of us, and including myself, at that time I was the estate director at a winery in Rutherford, California. I think it was having to let people go, because we weren't having people, come to us and in our doors and taking a hard look. And we didn't have that hospitality component and need, and being at a winery that, isn't a huge, conglomerate, being in a small independent estate winery, like we don't have the runway to keep people on and not make money. So, I mean, that's a challenge. That's not a unique challenge. Like a lot of people had that, and that was horrible. And it really, I think the wine industry, and especially, and obviously a large part, hotels and restaurants, which are so prevalent as a part of the economy in Napa Valley, it hurt our hearts. It felt bad to not be able to host people, to not be able to go through those movements that are so natural to us. Not just because of the money, but just because, like, this is our reason for being. This is what, fills our cup. So rough. Like, I get emotional talking about it. And
I
it's
can
still
tell,
so,
yeah.
far. It was really hard. And then losing a lot of good people. And then they ended up having to move out of Napa because it's not cheap to live here.
Absolutely
Or California.
Or California,
Yep. And we're getting some of that back, and we have for a while now. But, I mean, it's such a hard spot. That and the fires. You know what I mean? It's just it's so devastating that it's just like, oh my God, it's like, what's happening? It's like Eden is burning, or, you know what I mean? It's like,
but then it's amazing how you find the strength and you just keep pulling from the deep recesses of your soul that you didn't even know you had more to dig into.
Yeah, we all do it. And it's such a collective, and Napa's such a unified region, and not just, the wine industry, but just the community itself. It's been around for so long. It has, multiple generations and families, even if they have nothing to do with wine. And so it's such this world-class, world-renowned, globally recognized, top of, in this hemisphere, winemaking region, but it's also just a bucolic small town.
Yes.
I mean, it doesn't even crack 200,000 people population, the entire, Napa itself. So it's kind of the best of both worlds, that you can have the small town vibes, but then there's a 3-star Michelin restaurant up the street. You know what I mean? And here's a $850 bottle of wine you cannot buy. But yeah, so it's great that way. Unique that way.
Lisa, tell me more about the heart of the people of Napa, because you mentioned just moments ago, in years past, summer after summer, they have been gripped with the most horrendous fires, unfortunately, and people still come back to rebuild from the ground. Has the sentiment and the heart of Napa Valley changed?
That's a great question. I think, business-wise, sometimes the wine industry shifts, just like any industry shifts. And, right now you see a lot more wineries, just business and commerce, popping up brands. There's been a lot bigger wineries buying up smaller wineries, and that happens kind of everywhere in different industries. So the economics of it sort of changes, and the who owns what changes, but there's only so much land. It's the thing God is not making more of, right? And at the core, Napa and a lot of wine countries, they're farmers. These are agricultural, meccas, and that farming, whether you're in the middle, of the country, Midwest, or you're in this grape growing regions, there's that agricultural spirit. It's like, if it burns down, what do? You replant. If your neighbor is, suffering, all ships rise, when
I
you
love
rise.
that. It just gave me goosebumps.
And so there's the competition is kind of like you against the world. It's not you against your neighbor, and the competition is you against the elements. The only thing you can't control in winemaking is the weather. That's just what God's giving you. That's just what's going to, happen. And you just have to make the best of the hands dealt. Your hands dealt. It's such a metaphor for life.
Yes.
And so that's what I was like, we are a humble farming people, kind of, But I think, to your point, that's the heart. That really is the heart, because before grapes, it was apple orchards and prune orchards and walnut orchards, very similar to even what's, Central California now everywhere. But that has never changed. No matter how fancy the buildings get, they're still sitting on land that's just producing.
I love that.
Fruit. Yeah.
I love that, because oftentimes when things around you change, the core and the essence of people change.
Yeah.
And I have found that hasn't happened in my visits to Napa Valley.
Yeah.
So that's something I feel proud about and happy about every time I step foot into the region.
Yeah.
And it's more exciting. Maybe call us the old feeling souls. Yeah. But it fuels something nice
Right.
deep inside of you.
Right. It has to resonate.
In the time span that you have spent in the industry, did you ever think like, oh gosh, I'm done with wine. I don't want to learn anymore. I want to try my hand at something new.
A little bit, but I never wanted to give up on wine. I loved it. I mean, I thought, in trying to grow my career, like what is it going to look like? Maybe that my career would get further away from wine, like meaning where you're not. There's a saying we call touching grass, where you're on an estate versus being like in a corporate building, still marketing wine, still doing things, but you're more of in a headquarters. You're not like right by the road, you're not touching grass. I also knew that if for some reason my career, let's say I got into, the health wellness space or whatever, because I, looked at that. Of course, you have people that are having conversations. I was always like, well, but how can I keep one foot in wine? I'm like, I'm going to have to create my own wine. I'm going to have to make a rosé. So, I mean, no matter what, it was always still like a part of like, I've got to keep, my finger in a little bit. So, and there's obviously no time where I really ever decided to make a hard pivot. I think we all like have these fun little scenarios sometimes, that you consider. But there's a reason that I've just stayed on this path.
I don't know if I've asked you this in years past, but there's great research that wine is good for you. But in your job, you have to consume so much of it.
Right.
Are there like health repercussions? Are you afraid that now you've had too much of it?
Yeah. Yes, there's some mornings I wake up and I've had too much of it. No, but a lot of what industry does, especially if you're tasting wine a lot, is that you spit.
Yeah, of course,
you're tasting, you're spitting, you're tasting, you're spitting, I mean, so, and I mean, right now there's a big, huge prohibition, kind of like against all alcohol, not just wine category, but all alcohol categories. And, you're seeing dips in the wine industry, especially as you're seeing increases in cannabis. And so there's a lot of people replacing that sort of recreational chase or just kind of straight edge, like what they call it. Meaning just not participating at all, being completely sober, or California sober, or they're just smoking weed and not drinking wine. But to your point, and to marry the points of, are you drinking too much of it? I'm more worried about my Diet Coke intake than my wine intake. There are so many things that we are consuming in America, especially,
this is true,
where I'm just kind of like, look, I know that Doritos probably have 72 chemicals that I should not be eating.
Yes.
But I'm doing it, and like the maybe this mascara isn't the best, for me. But
so put things in perspective.
So I'm putting things in perspective, yes, and wine too. To my point, to make me sleep better at night, is 8,000 years old. Diet Coke does nothing on wine as far as a legacy. So I'm like, I'm drinking history.
I love it.
Basically, like my ancestors are like, I'm doing something that they've done. They were not drinking Diet Coke.
And they were fine.
And they were fine, Ashleen. They were fine. So there's always moderation, right? It's the least favorite child. Moderation.
Yes.
But I try to keep things in perspective.
Okay, Lisa, I know you mentioned, wine can be a luxury. And given that, we're more focused on today's conversation with you being from Napa, which is one of the most luxurious wine regions. Sure. That, again, that's subjective based on people's opinion.
But it's true.
Alrighty then. I'm going to leave this. I'm not going to edit this out.
No,
you heard it from the expert here. Let me rephrase that. This region is a luxury market. And how do you make the experience unique and approachable without it losing its elegance? And approachable not only in terms of the people who drink with the pinkies up, but to the masses in general. And I say that with a little bit tongue-in-cheek.
Yeah. I think, some people go, let's call it French Laundry, go to the French Laundry once in their life. And some people get to go a couple times a year. One thing that they do really well, shout out to Thomas Keller if he wants to give me a free meal. Every time you go in there, it's so over the top and beautifully choreographed and executed, the food and the service, but they make you feel so comfortable with you being there. And I only point that out because and a lot of people try to replicate that at even a tasting where it's $150 and some of the bottles are $300 and $400. This could be the person that just, this is their bucket list time to Napa, or it's a collector that, you know, comes through 4 or 5 different high-end wineries and buys cases and has it sent to one of their houses. You know, I think that just the hospitality and getting to know people and having an authentic experience with them. There's a really good hospitalitarian, I will say, a friend of mine named Jordan who works at a winery called Palmas, and he does just this exquisite job hosting people. And one of the things he said, it's a sound bite, so that's why I credit him and I will butcher it, is that when you're giving someone a tour or tasting through wines, there's 2 experiences that you should be doing at the same time. One, the brand experience, like the experience that the winery wants you to have and going through the wines, and 2, the one that they want. So that way, every experience is not the same, because you have to really understand what the person is looking for. Are they wanting to talk about their kids, their dogs? You know, they really wanting to talk about the winemaking? Are they really wanting to take pictures of these beautiful vineyards? But anyway, I think that's what makes it approachable, is actually really liking people. And
I was just going to say, you have to really have a knack for being social and being an extroverted person, and making sure that your social battery doesn't run out midway through, so you can give them that wholesome experience.
Right. We've said this before too. You know, there's the difference between being charming and being charmed.
Yes.
And it's like, oh, you're such a charming person. It's like, no, actually, real hospitalitarians and just people, they're legitimately, authentically charmed by other people. They actually want to get to know people. I think that's what makes anything, you know, approachable, is just being real and authentic and knowing,
and that human connection.
Exactly, at the human connection. And again, you could have a great experience with someone in a McDonald's.
This is true.
You know, and you can have a shitty experience with someone there too, you know, but it just depends. It doesn't matter where you at.
With your time in this industry, you have probably seen people from all facets of life. And by that, I also mean from different socioeconomic backgrounds.
Oh, sure.
How do you navigate that? And what is something that you have seen as a common thread amongst all of them?
From, again, the 22-year-olds that are, you know, of the bachelorette parties that are coming through, to tech billionaires, or celebrities. When they're coming to Napa, when they're coming, you know, for a tasting, they're on vacation, you know, with themselves or with their families, and they want to escape, and they want a little bit of taste of that, you know, this sort of lifestyle. And I think that that's common. They're really just wanting that experience. Everybody does want, you know, a little bit of, like I called it Eden before. It's like the Garden of Eden. And I think that's what's common. I mean, unless you're an asshole, everyone is happy and generally, like, again, you know, I'm not, you know, they're not there to get their taxes done. So I'm really lucky because they're there in a good mood for the most part. Amazing. And exciting to have fun and wanting to learn. And I think just being excited and wanting to learn and share something with someone are the 3 key, you know, things that no matter what, they all have in common.
What about when you get these high-end people, like you mentioned the billionaires?
Sure.
Aren't you intimidated to be in the room with them?
No, because I actually know more about wine than them. I know one thing more about them. Usually. Some are very, you know, a lot of people are very well educated about wine. But no, they're at my house. You know,
that's a great way of thinking about that.
I'm just worried about making sure they have a good time and hosting them. It's like if someone walked into your house, well, you feel comfortable. You're on your home turf.
That's true.
You know, and even though I've gone all over the country to you know, at different events like in Aspen or Pebble Beach or Nantucket or whatever, or New York, to do tastings or events. And sometimes I don't have the advantage of being on my home turf. They're showing up because they want to see, well, they don't know it's me maybe, but they want to have that experience. Or they want to taste this wine, or I've got something they want. So I can't say that I never, maybe when I was a little bit younger, but I don't even think about it. I'm just so excited to share some knowledge and share some wine and find out, you know, a little bit about them.
Do you find them just get comfortable and just kind of not talk shop and just be in the moment?
Oh, 90% of anything I talk about, if I've done any sort of wine tasting, has nothing to do with wine. But that's what it's a shared
That's
experience.
amazing.
It's
Yep.
a conversation. And that's how I feel like when, wine is whatever's in the bottle and you can market it and it has the points and it has the provenance and there's a winemaking philosophy and, it's rarefied juice. Millennials and then even Gen Z, they're so experience based.
Mm-hmm.
And as a marketer for wine, I'm like, perfect, I have something for you. Yep, it's still a bottle of wine. But in here is the experience, because it matters. And you can choose your own adventure because it matters who you're going to open this with. You can change, the experience can be 1,000 different things. And what food you're going to have. And if it's going to be what you're celebrating.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like,
it all adds to that overall experience.
Yeah, I have something that's such an experience. And you can actually take something home too.
Spoken like a true marketer.
Yeah. Spread the word. Buy more wine.
I want to ask you now is, what are some of the stereotypes of this industry?
Well, specific to Napa, there's been a lot of articles written that it's like, too big for its britches, meaning that, we price people out, and the wine, the hotel rooms.
Even the tasting experience has gone up significantly, especially after COVID.
Yeah. That's a challenge. And I think, we are in, this rarefied air in Napa as far as, the quality of the wine and just the, it's very limited allocation. Again, God's not making more, dirt. And I think we will have to do some adjusting for that. But in that, you'll the stereotype of being elitist will rear its ugly head. As I spoke to you before, if you actually go 99% of the times, every once in a while you'll get a snob, but we are not snobs. We are farmers. We are a great community and we are excited to share things, with people and our goods and services. That's always the stereotype, the snobby, too good, talks above you, you're beneath them, sort of wine educator or sommelier. But I see it more depicted in TV shows than I've ever actually seen it, in real life and heard any horrible story. It's hard because it's a lot of money, but to spend on the experience or being a collector, and that's just something that we're gonna, have to navigate. But that's definitely one of the hardest stereotypes for people who haven't actually experienced it to kind of overcome.
What about working in the industry?
Well, I think, there's a lot more growth in the sense that, there's a lot more wineries and, we are talking a lot about just Napa, but there's a lot more wine regions, that are becoming very well known, that are actually, beautiful wines, well established, but there's not one state now that doesn't grow wine, that doesn't make wine. So there is a lot of, exploration, new frontiers. I think the wine industry is still working, as many are, on, because it was very heavily kind of like good old boys network, but they're, making their shifts and strides. I think it's nice that you can see a lot more female executive leadership. We have a lot more that we need. And female-owned wineries and a lot of more female winemakers. So just like any industry, that is definitely more seats at the table. So that's growing too, those opportunities within, that scope.
Has the seats at the table for women come about in the last 5 to 10 years?
Yeah, it seems like the last decade, you're just seeing more, you're picking your head up more and seeing that. It takes a lot of time too, because you have to understand a lot of the established wineries, from the Mondavis to the Chapelets and everything that have been here since the 60s. I mean, we're talking post-prohibition. I mean, these were all owned by men. Of course they were. So, for women to own, wineries or the legacies and land and stuff. I mean, those things just happen little by little. The men have had a head start historically. They've had a little bit of a head start.
Right.
So yeah, I think they're making wonderful growths. And there's a lot of great organizations for women in wine. One's called Wine Women, that I was on the board of for a little bit. There's Batonage, there's Women for Wine Sense. So there's a lot of great support and opportunity in there. And again, a lot of really great female leaders that are mentors kind of individually to certain people, but almost they kind of are mentoring the whole next generation of women.
When you were coming up in this industry, how difficult was it for you? And did you have a female mentor helping guide you throughout the process?
It was difficult. Again, I said before, I was brand new 21, and it was a little bit intimidating. And just to learn about wine. And again, when I started at Coppola's Winery, they were releasing the 97 wines, which was...
Gosh, your memory is as sharp as a whip.
Well, you taste a wine, you kind of remember certain things. These wines in 2001 were being released. It's one of the best vintages. It was definitely the best vintage of the 90s decades. And it was $100 a bottle, which was insane.
That's cheaper.
But
well,
in
expensive
2001,
for that time. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And honestly, when you think of, like, to me, I'm playing in, this wine world where it's like $30 to, it could be $800 a bottle. But most wine that's consumed in the U.S. is $6.99, $10.99. It's grocery store wine. Like the millions and millions of cases that are actually sold. This is such a small fraction. This is 2%. Napa represents like about 2%, if I'm right, of all the wines made in the U.S. The fine wines, from Napa. So anyway, I had definitely a few women that were in leadership positions that I reported directly to, that were great. This one was when I worked at Bounty Hunter, which was a retailer of a lot of different fine wines. I was in sales and marketing, but my boss, her name was Julie. She was the marketing director. And I specifically remember going into her office at some point. I'd worked there for a couple years and kind of being like, I want your job. Like, not her job, but like, this is what I think I want to do. I'd gotten in that direction long enough. And I remember her plainly go, oh, you could do this. I'm like, what? She goes, yeah, I mean, you just do this and do this. 'Cause to me, I thought, like, God, that's such a big girl job. And I was probably in my late 20s at the time.
It seems a little bit more daunting.
Yeah. And 3 years from that point, I was the director of marketing at a winery. And so I think sometimes it's literally someone just saying, you can do this. There's other mentors I've had that I call them my reluctant mentors. I call that to them because I'm like, so I'm going to talk to you now. I'm going to take you to lunch. They have not decided that they're my mentor. I've decided that I'm their mentee. And I say it like funny, but I'm like, they're like, okay.
But sometimes you have to yourself take the initiative.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
So I'm like, I'm going to attach on you like a little barnacle and I'm going to ask you a bunch of questions. So I always try to look for, the smarter person in the room and see what they're doing. And sometimes it's getting to have a conversation. Sometimes it's just looking at their career paths and figuring out what they were doing so I could maybe emulate that.
While you were growing and the mentors that you mentioned, was there ever a time when you said, gosh, I deserve this and I'm not getting it and I have to show up to fight, like really fight for what I think is fundamentally right and mine? There
are times too where, it's sometimes why you leave jobs. You're like, this is as far as I can go. This is the ceiling here because people are already in place. It's not even bad feelings. It's just like your growth, your road is done. You come to the end of your road there. There are times that I've written, very specifically one time, written a 2-page document on what my job role was. And then in red bullet points, like your job description, put within, each category, called out in red how much it had grown. So you could see very clearly how much it has expanded.
Yes.
And then, the key points, the 15% growth or the this or the that. And then
all the analytics is supplemented.
All the analytics, yeah. And then at the end, my request for a $30,000 raise and a new title. And I can't believe I had the balls to do that. I was still like in my early 30s. And you know what? I got 20 out of the 30, which was great. But that was the first time I ever asked for a raise. But yes, you do have to fight. But that's why I was like, document everything. Make sure you know what you're doing. You don't just ask. You don't deserve it just because you've been there for a long time. You deserve it when you've done a lot for a while.
And you can back it up.
And you can back it up.
Lisa, that's really ballsy.
I know. I don't know. It's all that wine I was drinking, that liquid courage or something.
Weren't you scared that you could be fired?
Well, no, I didn't think I was going to be fired. The worst thing I thought I was going to be laughed out of the room. But you know what? Every answer is no if you don't ask, right?
I was going to say that. You stole it right out of my mouth.
Yeah. And I've been, it seems like the last 10 years, the majority of fighting that I've been doing within a company, this sounds super aggressive, but is for people in my team. Like, no, this person needs a raise. I'm the one looking at this, or no, we need an education budget. Like, we need to pay for them to go get this certification or that certification, or fighting for them to, where it's like, this person should go on this trip. It'd be really interesting for them to be able to have these opportunities in the seats at the table or be a part of those conversations. That's actually the majority of fight, because I'm tired. I don't need to go on every trip.
You've done it.
I mean, it's fun to go to Aspen, but it's a lot of altitude sickness sometimes.
That's true.
But yeah, so it's just, but I think I don't fault the wine industry for that, or anybody that I've ever worked with. I think that's just natural. Like, if you're not growing, if you're not really challenged and, just kind of stressed a little bit and trying to push forward, and feel the pushback. Nothing's easy. That's worth it.
And as you were speaking, it jolted something that you had said to me. Something had transpired during a time of our MBA program, and a group of us were in Napa. Mm-hmm. A scenario had popped up, and you and I were at brunch discussing something, and you said to me, and I still remember, it'll come to me from time to time, and at the right time too, just as it is right now. You said to me, Ashleen, you should be so happy that because of you, somebody has a seat at the table.
Yeah. And
that was so simple, yet so profound.
Oh.
And when every time this sentiment comes to me, it's at the most pivotal time in my life.
Oh, brilliant.
I just thank you again for these gems that just flow out of your mouth like water.
Sometimes, don't I?
But it's
that's great. I love to hear that.
And I think it didn't register to me that, gosh, I have the ability to do that, and I have done that. Mm-hmm. But because I'm so caught up in validating somebody else's feelings, that I'm not recognizing the work that I have done to bring that person up,
right,
while going to bat for them, that a lot of people at the table didn't agree to,
right,
but they're conceding because of my wish,
right,
because they see the value in me
and the conviction,
yeah. So they're willing to accommodate and make room for this other person that they don't have full conviction in.
That's true power.
Ooh.
That's true power. That you're just like, okay, well, if she says so.
I didn't realize that.
True power is actually beautiful. It's not aggressive. It's
Stop it. I don't want to have an epiphany on camera.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah.
Yes.
It's still tough.
It's tough.
But it's beautiful.
Thank you.
Yeah.
But Lisa, that also made me realize too, is that I need to recognize when somebody doesn't deserve that seat at the table.
Yeah.
And it's better fitting to either leave the space as it is rather than cramming it, or invite somebody who's more worthy. Lisa, on that beautiful note, I also want to highlight another important part of your career and something that you strove for, which was the 40 under 40 for North Bay Business Journal.
Yeah.
Was this something that you realized you needed to have as your career highlight?
No, it's just something I wanted.
When did you start aspiring for it?
It comes out every year, and it's not just in the wine industry, it's just for the region, North Bay region. Mm-hmm. And I remember, seeing it when it comes out and just like really admiring for all the different reasons the people that were highlighted in it and focus. And I remember a colleague of mine was like, we should be in that, kind of just like tongue in cheek,
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, actually, how would I be in that? And just start, thinking about that. I'm like, I want to see me, I admire these people. Like, I want to see me in that. And this is so unpopular, I think, a lot of times for women, where I was like, I am going to position myself, figure it out, be my own PR rep, and be 40 under 40.
It's a huge undertaking, by the way. That means you have certain goals that you need to hit and then go above and beyond that to be able to say why you deserve a spot on
and I was
that
like 37,
magazine.
38 at the time, so I didn't have a lot of time. True. Sorry. Yeah. And it was honestly, I mean, this sounds silly. Because part of it was just ego driven, where I'm like,
I mean, at least it fueled a fire for you.
Well, right. I'm like, I want that. I do think it's great. I think it helps my career. I think it's everything I'm, had to do to get there helped people along the way and helped my career too. It's obviously, I love a certificate. I love a diploma. I love, I
love collecting those accolades.
I love an accolade. So it was no different than deciding I want to go get my MBA or I want to go get this wine certificate. I just think too, especially for accolades like that, people think like, oh, you just do your work and you'll be seen and you'll be picked. And it's like, no, you've got to literally get yourself in position and do this. It's a lot of actual strategic.
How did it work on the back end if you're able to give a little bit more color?
Yeah, so I looked, the reason they pick 40 under 40, there's always just different reasons. Sometimes it's philanthropy, sometimes it's innovation, sometimes it's community building or brand involvement or just finance. There's a lot of reasons. And I was already looking at what I was doing that sort of fit the mold. And a lot of what I was doing at Minor had to do a lot with actually philanthropy. We had launched a wine where part of the proceeds were, and this was Dave Minor's idea and for his late wife, part of the proceeds went to Cancer Research Foundation.
Oh, that's great.
And then I had launched this volunteer time off program that gave, with your PPO, that gave our team, every employee, a certain amount of time to take off a part and above, their vacation and their sick time to specifically have volunteer time in wherever they chose. After that, when I was definitely looking at the 40 under 40, I was like, okay, I'm going to make this stronger. How do I take what I'm doing and because this is going to be my angle.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah.
Yeah.
Let's keep it real.
It is, yeah. And so I was like, okay, well, I'm going to find volunteer organizations and have them come here and talk, like a job fair, every month and have a new organization so that not only can they find opportunities, that opportunities come to our employees and then it reminds them of this and inspires them to actually take charge because they can sign up and, get involved and then did things like, okay, how do we keep going deeper with this? And it's like, all right, we will all together adopt a portion of the highway off Silverado Trail.
I remember that initiative.
Yes. And so, I just took something that was very important to me and that I was already doing and just leaned in. And then I wrote my own recommendation letter.
You didn't get the recommendation from your peers?
No, it's somebody that's supposed to write the letter for you. And I had my boss at the time sign it. But I said, I'm going to do this. And he loved it and signed off on it. He wanted to do it.
And I'm sure could articulate it much better.
It's just like when you make sales. Like, how do you make it as frictionless as possible? Mm-hmm. Like, you don't have to do anything. You don't have to wait on me. If you don't want to sign it, believe me, he wouldn't have. You know what I mean? But I'm like, okay, I'm going to make this. And again, unpopular thing to say. Sounds calculated.
But you're saying it how it is. And a lot of people don't understand all of the dynamics that happen on the back end to make these things possible. And you're actually here uncovering what it takes to get on a page like that.
Well, and I'm just saying, don't wait to be recognized. Be your own advocate. And that's really, the more sexy way of, putting it. It's like even, and I didn't realize this, like the Grammys or the Academy Awards, like you are lobbying for that in the background.
True.
It's usually not the actor himself, but it's their publicist and whatever. Mm-hmm. I don't have a team. It's me, but they're lobbying for that. It's not just someone like Rex saw Meryl Streep and was, well, Meryl, that's probably a bad, she's wonderful, but saw a performance and was like, I can't wait to put them up for this award. Right. It's like, well, it's the same thing with wine. It's not that somebody just walked around and decided to taste your wine and gave you 100 points. Like you are, from a marketing point, like you're submitting it. You are sitting down with the writers. You
have to be performative.
Doing that. So you have to lobby for yourself. And one of the greatest parts of that, and it was great to be recognized. There's a lot of people. There's a lot of entries. So it was great. And I did do the work and I do feel like I earned it. Mm-hmm. But it was also amazing that I'm like, wow, I wanted to do this. I figured out a plan and it works. Sometimes that doesn't happen. But that just felt good. Made me feel powerful.
Good.
And
it also is goes back to hard work. If you believe in it and you wanted it so badly that you put everything that you had in you towards that.
Right.
And lo and behold, you ended up on what you wanted to. Because it also is such an ode to your career. If you've got 2 decades of great experience, you know what you've done for the industry, for the specific companies, the lives that you've touched and changed for the better.
Right.
But it's overshadowed by the mundane.
Right.
You know, people like you and I are not going to rest easy if we don't have a shining moment that is more public facing somewhere. Right. You know, Lisa, when I saw that, and I was like, my gosh, I'm so happy for her. But damn it, she beat me to it. Because there is a competitive streak in a healthy way. Yes. We inspire each other.
Oh gosh.
There's so many people in our circles who are
honors at school, we're on the same team, literally.
Yes.
The same team. And it was like, who'd you get? But that's what makes great people great.
Yes.
It's friendly competition. It's friendly fire.
Friendly fire. Yes. Because you know that you have more. So people like you and some of our other peers don't make you be lazy and accept mediocre.
Right.
It really helps you dig deep within because you know you've got it. Yeah. You just don't want to do the work.
Right.
And with people like you, my goodness, you light up that fire in me. Because I actually wanted to be striving for 30 under 30. And I was like, oh, I missed that boat. Let me get to 40 under 40. And I thought at some time, gosh, I'm already doing God's work in corporate America. Yes. I am not going to burn myself further into the ground, one for $10,000, $20,000 more. And yes, it is a lot of money, but I'm talking about it in scope of the industry, Bay Area tech industry, and how draining and the burnout, how rampant it can be.
Absolutely.
And to add something else on, I'm like, let everybody else do that.
Right.
I have figured out that is not something I aspire to, and obviously I was supposed to go down a different track with this now. But good for you. Lisa, you worked so hard for this 40 under 40 achievement, but didn't you think, like, you've got it good? You know the industry, you know the people. Why not just cruise on along and mosey along into reaping the rewards of your hard work and just breathing a sigh of relief?
I think if you're not moving, you know, you're not growing. And I think we talked a little bit about it too. It's like the thing that gets me up in the morning is my reason is like, I like to build, I like to create. And in that there's always a challenge. Mm-hmm. Also, I mean, it's the reason I ended up deciding to get my MBA. Like, I'm at a certain point. How do I get to the next level? Well, a lot of it's luck and timing. Mm-hmm. And that happens in any industry, whether it's, you know, the timing of the economy or that industry specifically or that region or luck or being in the right place, having the right network. And, you know, I'm doing all those things that I can control the factors. There's a lot of factors you can't. But one thing I could was I'm like, you know what? I got to differentiate myself from myself already. Not other people, but from myself. Like what I have now versus what can I have in 2 years from now? It's going to make the biggest impact. It's going to change Lisa the most. And I was like, an MBA. Again, love a certificate, love a title. But I also realized too that there's going to be a level of confidence in gaining that knowledge.
Right.
You know, it's like, oh, you know, I want to run a winery. All of a sudden I was like, this is, I don't even know if I want to do it, but if I did want to do it, what would I need? Mm-hmm. Like, well, I need a little bit more understanding of finance, or, you know, I need a little bit more, you know, understanding in some, you know, communications areas or certain things, some executive
just refining
presence.
It.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I think too, like having, you know, a higher level of education definitely helps you stand out. What I didn't realize and what I think I gained more than any of the education or the curriculum is, as we talked before, the relationships, you know, that network, that alumni, and the experience of doing the hard work that really codified, you know, my work ethic or my ability to believe myself to do all that heavy lifting and to have so many balls in the air and still be able to manage them. All of a sudden I realized like it made me less apprehensive to approach anything after that. I'm like, well, if I could get through that,
right,
then this is like maybe annoying, but this is not impossible. You know, that was worth all the money and the education in the world. And I didn't even realize that. So coming out the other end of that MBA program ended up changing me so like on a molecular level, like so much, just because of those motions we had to go through.
That spirit that you just described is, would you say, is still very much part and parcel of your life and your reason for waking up?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And I love that you said that, Lisa, because oftentimes we're so afraid to take risk, and that becomes a lot more, the fear starts to take over as we get later on in our years.
I want to do all the things. We've probably had this conversation before where, if you believe in past lives or anything like that, whether you do or not, if it's true, this is definitely like my first life. Maybe the second one.
How do you come to that conclusion?
I just feel it because one, I have to learn everything the hard way. There's no like innate where I'm like, oh yes, I just sense this. Like, no, I'm going to run into the wall. But I also...
But you're going to bounce right back and stand up.
But I also feel like I have such, that energy. I want to experience like all the things, and even things that scare me. I'm like, okay, I got to get up and speak in front of 1,000 people. Like, this sucks. They're like, why are you putting yourself through this? I'm like, because what I want is the other side of the experience. Not all this preparation, not even when you're doing it. What I want to know is who I am and how it feels like on the other side of it. And so that's why...
I love that mindset.
Yeah.
I don't think a lot of people look at it from that approach because I'm so busy into the preparation of it, making sure it all goes smoothly. Whereas I don't pay enough mind to how that's going to look. And that should also be a factor that I put into the legwork.
Yeah.
Because that would make everything so much more seamless.
Well, not everyone wants to do the sit-ups. You're not doing them for that, when you go and buy the workout stuff or find the tape or go to the gym or drive or put the thing on, or when you're actually doing it. You're doing it for the other side of it.
Love it. It's the common sense, but again, you're just putting things into better perspective.
But, you don't have to do it. And there's some things that are a lot, more scary. And it's not necessary, but, it is when you want to grow, and it more just helps your confidence. Like, okay, I did that. Now I can do something else. So I find as I get older, and I don't think it's just because I get older. I think it's because it's a collection of experiences, not just age. I think that's the difference between living life and surviving life. But I realize there's sometimes where I'm like, I should be freaked out. I'm like, I'm weirdly not. And then I realize I'm like, oh, it's because there's multiple versions of me that have done this.
I should be having more 3-hour conversations with you on a daily basis.
I'm like, oh, yeah. I'm like, this is scary. And I'm like, worse stuff has happened.
That's true. And Lisa, just to pick up on one thing that you said right now, which was you're not surviving, you're living through. And I was just having this conversation with somebody and I said, I don't want a boring life. I'm okay with boring days.
Sure.
I don't want a boring life. Yeah. And I think people like you and I, and correct me if I'm wrong, is when we're in a rocking chair.
Yes.
way, way, way back. I mean, way, way, way in the future. Sorry, way in the future. Right. I want to look back and say, goodness me, we had a great life. We did it all and we pushed through our fears. And we are a rare breed coming from a generation that didn't have the technology. We adapted it.
Right.
Made do with all the labels, and we survived.
Absolutely.
Without having to hopefully not pop as many pills on the way to a rocking chair.
Like, I want my memoir to be titled, Girl, What? Like, where they're like,
love
what?
it.
Yeah. Where people like my daughter or someone like, and then she did what? Like, this is, every chapter's got something in it,
going on, something exciting.
I'm like, yeah. And it's not always great, but at least there's a redemption chapter or something. Sometimes things happen. But yeah.
Okay, great segue, which is pivoting into your personal life. Tell me about the Lisa before Napa Valley. The Lisa, your childhood. And did you grow up in California?
No, I grew up in North Carolina. My mother grew up in Napa, so we always came out here every summer. Mm-hmm. So I was very familiar with Napa. But no, I grew up in the South.
So how old?
13.
Okay.
Yeah, I moved out, to California. But like there's such formative years, in the South, and it really shaped in all my family, out there. It's very different. They're very demonstrative. loving. Not that they're not, but it's just, it's definitely, if there's a stereotype in the South, people a little bit more friendly, or they're a little bit more kind of involved in each other's, lives and family, and everyone can boss you around, all the adults. And it was very much like that, with me too.
Is that where you get your sass from?
Absolutely.
And you said too that the people from the South are very loving, which when we speak and the way we talk to each other, there's a lot of terms of endearment. Yeah. Our exchanges often to begin with, hi love, hey babe. And you don't really hear that from a lot of people. A lot of people are squeamish about it.
Right.
And when they hear two people and grown adults speak like that, sometimes their brain goes working in a different direction.
Right.
Which I find so interesting.
No, it's more reserved. Yeah, they're just more reserved in that sort of language. And I've done that too. I've accidentally called someone darling or hun at work.
Yeah, I'm guilty of that too.
Yeah, I'm like, oh, and that's just kind of some automatic. But, at the end of the day, that's what I'm comfortable with. If you're more reserved, that's what you're comfortable with, whomever it is. But I'm like, I'd rather default to being overly kind, or just default to being authentically me. So I'm like, okay, well, I'll try to behave, but I love that about me.
Mm-hmm.
I love that about you.
As do I.
So I'm like, okay. And I immediately, by the way, if someone says something like that to me, like recognize, I go, oh, like I like them. I mean, that's how easy I am. Just throw one term of endearment at me,
which is,
and I love it.
Yes, which right. is our advantage and our biggest disadvantage.
Yes, it's a double-edged sword.
Yes,
you're
is
so right.
Yeah. And I think we're both work in progress.
We are.
Yep.
Yeah.
When you talk about your family and growing up in the South, is there any one particular thing that they said that you still carry with you till this date?
So this is just one of my favorite stories. And this is just epitomizes not only my sister, but just, that feeling. We talked a little bit about community and that feeling about like connection people. And this was only just a handful of years ago, but I go back to North Carolina often to visit. So my sister, who's a little less than 20 years older than me, so she's like my sister and my boss. She's a little bit of both, but we went on a trip riding around doing errands. We go to a hardware store and I'm walking around. She just has to pick up something and she starts talking to this lady and they are catching up, and laughing and talking. And I'm not even listening to them. I'm like, okay, this could be forever. Talking about their kids and the things they did over the weekend and just that catch up, that good feeling catch up. I'm running around, whatever. And so I come back. I was like, all right, we're wrapping up. And the lady is the cash register lady, but I'm like, oh God, it's taking forever. So I go and my sister goes, oh, this is my sister this is my sister Lisa. Sorry, her name's Scarlett, very Southern name. And the lady's like, oh, this is Maureen. And Maureen's like, oh, it's so good to meet you. Like, I'm like, oh, it's lovely to meet you. We pay whatever, we go outside and we're getting in the car. And I asked Scarlett, I go, how do you know Maureen? She looked at me, she goes, I don't. So that's the girl that always, does the checkout. But I just laugh because one, it's so my sister, but two, it was also Maureen. And three, I think most importantly, it's so culturally like what it is in a lot of places like down there. And I just love that exchange. I mean, that's Southern hospitality. And as someone that loves hospitality and sees it, it doesn't always have to be in a formal setting. It can just be, passing, looking the person in the eye that you're doing at the checkout with, and saying hello instead of being on your phone. Like just small connections and bigger connections. And that just epitomizes, so much and what you
carry forward.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's such a great story. And I'm so glad you shared that because we live in such a state of being wary of our surroundings and not oversharing, but it's those old school moments that still spark so much joy, and it's so nice to experience that once in a while and just have moments that tug at your heart.
Yeah,
because there's too much going on in the world and our lives that those moments sometimes are much harder to come by than you'd like.
No, it's true. And my sister is the epitome of being charming, but actually really being charmed by people.
Would you say that your confidence comes from your formative years and then when you moved to California? Or did it build up during your time and experiences here?
I think my love of people and, confidence in that was in California, or excuse me, what's in North Carolina. I think that, there's a lot of hard things that we go through. And we touched upon them a lot regarding, your career, but, personally, there's a lot of challenges that you go through that, again, you get through it and you have the confidence. You're like, if I can do that then I can do this now, X, Y, and Z now. So,
because I know and you know more about each other's private lives.
Yeah.
Of the things that life has thrown at you. How did you not lose, or shall I say, become jaded by life?
My superpower is literally, you cannot make me bitter. I don't know what it is. It's actually one of the favorite things about myself, no matter what has happened, no matter what that's unfair or mean. Like, I think that, I can be sad and I can be angry, like
go through
all
the
of the emotions. But I don't know what it is, but I'm like, I'm just so optimistic that something is wonderful is, going to happen. And that I've been confident in that, in making it happen, too. And then I've been selective and getting better at surrounding myself with the right people. Not always, but the right people. So I will never, I don't know. I think this is my first life because if I was smart enough, I probably would be a little bit bitter or jaded.
But no, you're doing great, as you say, for your first life.
But I'm like, yeah, but I just don't. I just have the eternal hope and optimism and actual knowledge that I've seen it happen. Oh, it's gonna get better.
I'm so glad that you said that, because I too have a sunny disposition to life. And, like you said, you go through the emotions. We're all human beings. You're going to feel sad. But I process and I get over it.
Yeah.
And so there are people sometimes that you meet that your energy will trigger them because they haven't healed parts of themselves.
That's so true.
So what they'll try to do, and it has happened to me many a times, where they'll try to dig into an experience that I went through and try to say, well, you must be broken, or you haven't healed this part of you because of X, Y, and Z. Tell me more about it. And I said, what do you want to know? And so, but they'll try to take on an approach that can be a little demeaning and in a negative connotation. And when I don't play into the hands of it,
right,
it becomes where they feel like they can psychoanalyze my personality into something that probably I haven't dealt with. And I'm like, no, I went through it. There's so much more to life. And I don't feel like why I need to fall into the same bucket as everybody else who said life was hard. I got a few stones thrown at me.
Right.
But I got up and said, okay, that's fine.
Right.
I shouldn't have to do away with the essence of me. And if my sunny disposition doesn't bode well with your energy, the door's wide open. Please walk right out. We can part ways.
No, I agree. And I think too that when you were saying that, like, that's not for their consumption. And you don't get to sift through what you perceive as my trauma to try to pick out something. Like, get out of my attic. Like, no, this is your attic, your head. I'm like, no, thank you. I'm not really interested in that. But and decide, what I've gone through.
If you're able to dig into something and that I say respond back in a manner that is fitting for you, that it allows you to have some semblance of control.
You're so right. And recognizing that is so key.
It takes a moment.
That out. Yeah. And sometimes you get, I think too, because how open you are.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I share a little bit of that with you, that sometimes we just launch into wanting to be open. And I'm actually learning a lot about that from you, where it's like, be careful with your energy.
Mm-hmm.
We're so used to be like, I'm an open book. My heart's on my sleeve. I was just having that conversation with my sister. And it's like, actually, not everybody has good intentions for you, and the more you share, the more they can evaluate it, or the more energy of you that you're giving, that they can do kind of whatever they want with. So it's better to recognize it early and often.
Yes. And if you're not transmuting that negative energy, whether it be in your physical presence or in their thoughts that you're not privy to because you're in your home, they're in their home.
Sure.
It's still traveling.
Yeah, it's all everywhere.
Unless you're in such a constant state of awareness and you're so good about transmuting it, then it's best to be selective. And that's not to say that you're not kind and open,
Right.
it just goes back to what you've said many a times, is that people like you and I were charming. And
Right.
it's easy for us to get along with people.
Oh, yeah. I could talk to a wall. Yeah.
So I think we're both on this path of just, we don't have to open ourselves up so wide. We're still here to give,
Right.
but we're not open to receiving as much in terms of what doesn't serve us, because we have been of service for far too long. And this is right now where we're being of service too, but this is also to help inspire somebody to take a positive, inspired action and, have, hopefully this conversation brings a smile to your face.
Right. Well, and, to your point, and I love this format that you have, Ashleen, and I remember when you telling me that you were, creating this sort of platform. I thought this is so perfect for you. It's so in line with who you are, your essence.
Aww.
And, to the point you made earlier, just like, and that we've had this conversation where even if it's like one person has the conversation, like that impact is huge, like that, and that energy is huge. And I mean, the karmas, points alone are worth it. But it's so true though, like this is what you were put here for. I believe that.
Oh my God.
I do.
Stop it.
I am so cute right now. But no, I do believe that.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you. Don't make me cry.
Okay. Talk about cool stuff now.
As you came into yourself at 13, teenager, young adult, what were your first curveballs that you remember?
I got pregnant.
Okay.
So I was 16 years old when I gave birth to my daughter. I just have one.
Mm-hmm.
So talk about a challenge. It was my high school sweetheart boyfriend. We were together off and on until I was like 25, so we were together for a long time. I mean, I finished high school, on time, but like, great GPA, but just with a baby. It was like, not like Teen Mom on MTV. Where's the thing? Like
That's your
not that
camera.
bad. Okay. This was pre-Teen Mom. I was the OG, but no, there was not that much like craziness. It was crazy in the sense that like I had
responsibility.
I was on WIC for formula because I couldn't to buy my daughter formula because I couldn't afford it. I was 16, 17 years old. That was the only social service that I ended up being approved for or needed to take. And again, I only had to take it for a little bit and then, using it the way it should be. And then, I got off of it and we had to do it. But I fully remember that, and finishing that and trying to find a career and just being in school or trying to find a path. So that was a curve. It was a cutie little curveball, but such a curveball.
But Lisa, a lot of people would have said, oh, I have to do 2 jobs. I have to give my daughter the best. And you did give Amy the best that you could, but you never stopped yourself short of education and setting that bar high, if not even higher for yourself.
Yeah.
Why? When you could have just said, this is too much for me. I've already got a young child that I need to be responsible for.
Right. Well, it's because I had a young child to be responsible for. I often say, I don't know how successful I would be if I didn't have Amy. There's maybe a version of me that totally would have been, but I know, that's why I say, my reason, is to get up is to create and to build.
Mm-hmm.
That started with her. To create and to build, for her, with her. And in education, to definitely credit my mother. She has, a master's degree in public health. And a lot of what I grew up hearing is that you have to be an independent woman. You have to make your own money. You have to have your own education. She came, from the 50s and 60s and 70s. And that's, very important as she was growing up. So that was drilled into me, we always traveled, went to museums, did a lot of great things. So that was just, I inherited that from her. She taught me that. But that's why it was really important for me, when I raised Amy too. Like I focused so much, probably too much, but overcorrected, like, these are your grades. This is what you need to do. And it wasn't for looks. It was for, I used to say, these are your options, wide. The more choices you make, that suffocate your options because you're not getting good grades or you're making bad choices in your personal life, you start narrowing your path. And so then your options become smaller and smaller. It's like, all I want you to do is have all the options. And you have all the options by doing, certain activities.
Yep.
and having certain goals, and you have more room, in the world,
Yes.
to breathe or navigate.
And the freedom to make choices.
Exactly. That's all I want is, choices for
Yep.
her. And, education, especially here, is a big one. Travel is such a, because it's an education into it of itself. But then also just making good choices of like who you're friends with, or drugs and alcohol, when they're teenagers and all that stuff. Or, she never had to, get in trouble with the law or anything. But I'm just thinking like all the different things. Having a baby young definitely narrows your choices.
Yep.
Luckily, I made something totally bloom from that. And because of that too. But I didn't want that for her either. So, that's my, that was my motivation. And to be
you must be so proud though, looking at her now.
I am. I'm so tired, but I'm so proud. No, she graduated summa cum laude from college, and moved down in San Francisco and moved down to LA. And my biggest achievement is that she graduated with no debt because I paid for all of her college.
That's amazing.
It's one. I only had one kid. I never had another one.
It doesn't matter because you were also doing your MBA while she was in the midst of her final years of school, right?
Yep.
If memory serves me correctly.
Yeah,
and our grad program was not cheap.
No, it wasn't. I have debt.
Yeah, I have debt too.
She doesn't, but yes, and I graduated my MBA before she graduated with her bachelor's, so that was sort of my race.
Oh, your sacrifices weren't in vain.
No. They were great. She's wonderful. Sometimes you're just, this is so trite maybe, but you're just taking things one day at a time. Sometimes, you are just suffering through things, and you have to just make the best decision with the information that you have in front of you. And then you sometimes, turn, maybe you make the wrong decision. So you just learn the next time you come to a fork, like, okay, and now I got to lean left, this way. A lot of it isn't magic. It's just grit.
It is. That's true.
I'm like, you can do it. Just to, because we're all going to get to scary forks. But I'm like, you have to do it. You have to trust your instincts, and trust your gut. I also say this, and I think this is so true with moms, and I hear this everywhere, but I think it's just true in general. If you're questioning yourself, you're doing a good job. If you're stopping and thinking and debating, even if you choose the wrong path, you're at least doing a good job. The people that are not even thinking of it. Their egos are there, or they're being lazy, or they are destructive, or not caring about anyone else. If you're worried about it, if it's keeping you up at night, you're on the right path.
That just triggered what you said about questioning. Another memory and something I shared with you is during COVID times. I had a different stance, and there were some people in our friend group that didn't give me an opportunity to ask me, Ashleen, why do you have this stance?
Sure.
And so I remember when I had met up with you, you said to me, you're an educated woman, and so I'm interested in hearing why you came to the conclusion you did.
Yeah.
And I think this is so poignant in the times that we are in right now. And you and I are sitting to record this the day after the election. Yeah. So I don't know when this will go up.
Right.
But I think it's so imperative to have people and friends who can have someone sit across from them with a different opinion and honor that. And not only honor that, encourage a discussion, because
have healthy discourse.
Because you also said, I may have something to learn from you, or a viewpoint that I haven't come across myself.
Right.
Because your viewpoints are more strongly reflecting one side of the coin, and here I am presenting the other side of the coin, so that we can merge opinions and see where they mirror each other and where we can learn from each other. Right. And if you didn't have my respect by then already, it just went from here to here.
Oh.
And I love that.
I wanted your opinion because you had my, respect, and I think that's important. If I love you, if I respect you, I think you're educated. Like, I want to know what you think, why you think it, what makes you work. I think there's not one truth. I think there's just there's just information, and there's different perspectives of looking at it.
But I think, Lisa, it just goes back to the respect component, right? If you respect me as a person, we don't always have to share. I mean, you like Diet Coke, I like regular, give me all the sugar, give me all of
That's
it, right?
so
Just,
weird. No, I'm just
just
kidding.
and we can
Yeah,
still sit
yeah,
at the same table,
yeah,
and have
absolutely.
fundamental disagreements, but still get along
Yeah.
because we love each other, and the core essence of the relationship shouldn't be changed.
No. And it's
Or
not going to hang in the balance from one issue. I'm
yeah.
sorry.
And unfortunately, at that time, it did. And a lot of my
Right.
friendships fell to the wayside, which is fine. But it was striking when I recognized that the respect you gave me is what I thought I had the respect of my peers because of the way that we speak to each other and how we communicate and are just in each other's lives, of the myriad amount of information that is shared amongst all of us, that core component of respect was so missing.
Right.
And that was a hard pill to swallow.
And in this time too, like I said, it's after the election. We've seen a lot of that. I'm not even talking about us specifically experiencing it, but seen a lot of that where people just stop talking to people and stop having friends because they're so angry. Instead of listening, they just want to talk. And I famously, my sister and I, well, famously for us, it's not really world renowned for anyone else, but we are on different sides of so many political views. There are some things that we definitely in the Venn diagram overlap, but it's so small overlap. But we literally will have long conversations and it'll be like, well, I mean, I can see your point, but what about this? And mwah, it's beautiful. But she taught me that, a lot of it too, of like how to do that and how to have completely opposite viewpoints and still have an interesting conversation.
What it brings to my mind is the saying, united we stand, divided we fall.
No, absolutely.
And I really wish that people would pay heed that these slogans are there and they matter, because you and I are still so united, irrespective of our very different backgrounds.
Oh, yeah.
We share different opinions at times.
Yeah.
But the love that unites us supersedes all of the other things.
Right. I mean, unless you're like drowning baby kittens, there's really nothing you can... That I stand firm. I'm not going to hear your opinion on that, Ashleen. Stop it. Yeah.
What are some epiphanies that you've had about life?
So very recently, and I'm so annoyed that this just like went over my head. I was sitting in Mass, and Mass was about like, actually about marriage that time. And it was about, a husband and wife have to have, a family, something about a shared vision. And it was beautiful. And I was kind of half paying attention because it was making my grocery list in my head too. I was thinking of, some relationships I've had. I'm like, oh, that's right. We were two people alone, not like, alone together. You know what I mean? It was, maybe we didn't have a shared vision. We were just kind of living life beside each other. And then it made me think, well, it's not just about a man. Like, what about that for me? What is my vision? Then the marketer in me, because I've done this countless exercise times, like so many times with different organizations, where you have your vision, your mission statement, and your values. And it's actually kind of one of the hardest things companies and if you do that exercise with owners and C-level execs, it is really hard. You think but it's hard to narrow it down. And it's so important to the culture of the company.
Yep.
Everything that drives the company,
because it ends up representing you.
Yeah, and it has to go through that funnel. And it's such a North Star, in the sense that if it doesn't hit one of your values, if it's not true to your values and it doesn't travel along the mission to get to that vision, then you shouldn't do that. And why do we not have that?
A mission statement for ourselves.
A vision. The bigger thing is just like, this is, how I see the world and what I want. A mission is, how you're going to do it. And, it's more kind of like the verb, the action words for it. And, and the values are like the adjectives, like describing things that are important to you. And so I've been sort of working on that. And it is hard, and it's okay that it changes, I'm sure. But I think most of the things won't change. The things that are the most valued to me are connection and people in like those relationships and learning and building and creating, some of the things we were talking about. And I'm trying to work that into a mission and vision. But I think too, goes back to the, why do you love the wine industry? I'm like, oh God, that's right. Because it so fits with so many of the things that I love, that I grew up with, that I'm good at, that I enjoy. We all need to do this. Like, we all need to take some time so that any choice you make, whether to go out, whether to be friends with this person, whether to have a career, whether to make that move, if you could just run it through that, you would know, if you're in a fork in the road, exactly, which path to take.
True. And when you told me that, I remember saying to you, holy, I mean, my choice of words are different that I'm not going to repeat here. That's, but I was like, oh my gosh, another epiphany and light bulb moment with you was, wow, why aren't we taught this at a young age? Because it would cement so much of what
direction.
is direction. Yes.
Yeah.
And when things are cemented, your confidence doesn't sway
right
so much.
Yeah.
And I think that is so important, especially for young people, when you're coming into your own, you're navigating hormones and navigating life and just trying to find your place in the world. If your mission statement is strong, you may have some experiences that are not the best, but they serve as learning opportunities.
Absolutely.
And it's not going to deviate you from your purpose and from your soul.
Right.
You won't be as lost. We all are lost at some point in our lives.
Right.
But it will anchor you back home. That's it. It's your anchor.
Yeah, that's a great metaphor. I love that. Well, and it's just like, too, when you look on, you're scoping out a new company, I always like to look at the vision, mission, like what are sometimes it's just,
I am the same way.
But I was like, oh God, if I could go on a date and be like, okay, like if Bumble had your vision, your mission, your values, not like perfect date for me is, I buy 2 drinks, whatever. Like, actually, that you could probably find people that's more in line, or that you're actually interested in. You're like, okay, I'll work with them,
And then you can carry it further to have it work as your 30-second, 60-second elevator pitch.
Oh, yeah.
Because you've refined it so
right.
well. And it is integral to you, and it's so easy to then parse into other areas and combine it together to make yourself pitch perfect.
Well, it's like when people say, well, tell me about yourself in an interview. I'm like, I don't know.
But now you've got your values and mission statement.
Go, like, look, my mission is, this is important to me. And it didn't even have to be about work. Like, my mission is to, you're like really into, philanthropy. I want to change the world in this way. Or I want to lift people up, or I want to create new innovative things. I mean,
as you look back at the women who came before you, your mom, your grandparents, now you, your daughter Amy, as you look at the history and you draw from the observations of these women, what are some of the things that you think they did well, or they perhaps failed at, and that we could do better, or that you would like to impart perhaps in the future to your grandchildren?
I spoke a lot about my mom and how, she was highly educated. She was very successful. We went on trips. We did a lot of things. She accomplished a lot of things. I think, she was born in the 50s, went through like Vietnam War and women's liberation, and got married in the 70s.
I'm sorry to interject, but didn't you also tell me, like, in our personal conversations, that your mom and you come from a lineage of women who are at the forefront of change when it needs to be demanded, and they're right there fighting for it or showing up for it as well?
Well, especially my mother. My grandmother was very tough and survived, but she kept everything afloat. My mother had the kind of the perspective and then the opportunity, or made the opportunity to go, like, she went into the military, just to help, provide education and travel for her. I mean, that's how she met my father, kept educating herself, definitely instilled those values. I talked a little bit about, that's why it was so important to me to achieve these certain, measures of success. It's like, okay, you have a kid, and then that kid does this, and you make this amount of money, or you buy this house, you get this education, you get this title, the salary. And I passed that on to Amy, just being independent, especially as a woman. What my mom and then me, and what I'm trying to change, what she failed to do, and a whole generation of women failed to do, not because they're failures, but because they were the first generation to have to work hard to get meet these external goals that their male counterparts had to be seen as equal, really focused on the external world, everything, outside, and what success looks like and how it's defined by these goals and reaching these certain metrics. In a lot of the conversations I'm having, some with you, in listening, a lot to other people's conversations, and also talking with my daughter, what I want for her and what I'm trying to shift into as I'm getting older, what I definitely want for everybody, this is not specific to women, is, start defining what your goals are and what success looks like inside you. And and it's hard too. It's a little bit with the vision, mission, values, but that it's not defined by by a made up thing, like we made up credit scores, or the housing market, or a car manufacturer that's only been around, for, X amount of time. It's like, you're here, you are a part of the universe. Like, what is it that you are, what's success mean for you? And that even if you don't hit some certain external mark, that you're living in your truth, and your honesty, and you're just aligned, that you can still feel successful, even if you get passed over for the promotion. That is not the outside sources are not defining you so much. They will always matter, of course. We actually live in a world
send you into a tailspin of darkness.
Right. I mean, we live in a world amongst people. We have to participate in the community and the social construct.
Yes.
But I think we spend so much time out here that we don't have an inner construct, to define success.
Ding, ding.
And
yes.
That is where I had a conversation recently where, I realized I was talking about my daughter, and she's so successful and she's so smart, and she gets all these, amazing opportunities now because she's, figured out how to, work, and she's talented. And I realized, like, a lot of my conversations when I tell her how much I love her and how proud I am of her were focused around these external
validations.
Markers. When I realized, I'm like, wait a minute, I want her to know how I love her and I'm proud of her because I think she's interesting and creative, and I love the way she thinks, and has nothing to do with her title, the money, where she lives, the certificate that she got. Like, I love talking to her. Like, I love talking to you. You know what I mean? Like, I love the way that she strings words together. I love her no matter what, even if she was doing something horrible happened or she really messed up. Like, and that's inside me. That's success, is to let her know. That's one of mine that I'm identifying.
I think you and I and a lot of people our age who share the same school of thought are having this epiphany. Because we have, due to factors and circumstances, have to be in a position where we've had to strap our boots really tight.
Right.
But now, if given the opportunity, let's ease off.
Yeah.
Because we have the resources and we can tap into that anytime. It breaks my heart, as I'm sure it does for you. I mean, having these recognitions is the confidence in young adults and children are waning because they're not built from day one from things that should be core to them, because
from the inside out.
Out, because we're so looking, to your point, outside in. And that if we started looking inside out, a lot of the noise in our head would quiet down.
Such a great way of putting it. And I think you're absolutely right. I think you hit the nail right on the head with that.
So let's hope that our epiphanies and this conversation spark something in someone that will help them, or hopefully lead some change into inward reflection, because the confidence that comes with that is powerful.
Yeah.
Powerful and life-changing.
Right. No, it's true.
But with the caveat of it may take you into isolation for a little bit.
It does. It work,
but you grow in you grow in isolation.
Yeah, you're going to have to lose. You have to be okay losing certain people or certain habits or ideals to, grow.
Lisa, lastly, what kind of legacy do you hope to leave behind, both in your career and your personal life?
The legacy would always be like that, that she helped, that she was fun, that she helped grow things, that she brought people together. That's what I want, that they there's like so many people crying at my funeral because I'm not there. Not because I made a lot of money, or because I was best dressed, or because I, had a Fortune 500 company, but because I really actually was
touched people's lives.
Yeah, authentic, and they just miss me so much.
I love that. On that beautiful note, I want to thank you so much for being here, and I also want to take a moment to say that you are one of the people who is so instrumental in my life. And though 8 years seems so short, but it feels like I've known you longer. And though life takes us in different directions, I can say this one thing with surety is if I ever lost you as a person in my life, or there was somebody or something came in to drive a wedge between us, my soul would hurt. Not my heart, my soul would hurt if I ever lost you as someone in my life.
Well, you won't.
And I don't think I've said it out loud.
Say that.
But it's true.
Yeah.
You are somebody, you need people in your life who gets your crazy.
Yeah.
You get my crazy.
Yes, ma'am.
So like,
I'm back at you.
The loud, outlandish things that leave my mouth.
Yeah.
You're like, oh God. Here she goes again. Oh. I'm shocked, but I'm not shocked because it's coming from Ashleen.
It's delicious. I'm like, yum, yum, yum.
And so...
that's crazy.
And you always help lift me up on a different level. And I love you for that. The love that you invoke in me and the love for you just comes pouring out. If you have that, hold on to it tight.
Absolutely.
I hold on to it so tightly, and you inspire me.
Oh my gosh. Back at you. Look at what you're doing. This is great.
You inspire me, and you believe in me.
I do.
Everything that I've done and I've come to you with, you have believed in me. So thank you. And I say this because oftentimes women are in competition with each other.
Right.
And I'm saying this to tell you that there are women like this. We are examples who lift each other up. We had a friendly competition when we were in grad school,
right? Because
we wanted to be the creme, creme de la creme,
right?
And why not?
Yes. Why? Of course.
And so, but in having said that, even in that competition, when you and I were on a project, and mine wasn't more capitalistic. It was more towards about the human aspect. And the project itself was geared towards highlighting how to bring about more clean drinking water facilities. Right. Yes. Remember in Africa? Yeah. And you got it. Yeah. And I think when I had circulated this idea to some of my peers, they're like, no. But you understood it, and we were able to deliver the economics behind it.
Right.
While still keeping to what was important to me.
Right, the fundamentals
of it.
Yeah.
Yes. And so I really wish people would find their Lisa. Oh. Like I have with you.
You're giving the eulogy at my funeral. You heard it here. Make her do it.
Amy, you come first.
Yeah, she'll do the playlist. Don't worry.
So
thank you.
Thank you for being such a kick-ass woman. And being in my life, I'm greedy. And so I'm always going to be greedy for Lisa time.
Perfect.
I hope you all find your Lisa. And Lisa, thank you for sharing so much of your life and, educating the people about Napa Valley.
Yeah. Come. I'll pour you some wine.
You heard it here first. From the finest wine market in the world, right?
Yes, definitely.
Fight her if you don't believe it.
Yeah.
On that note, thank you so much for joining us on Between Us. Till next time.